2 seconds.
It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Jeff Goodman. Tonight, David Lefkowitz sits in for Jeff as we review West Side Story, 33 Variations, and Impressionism. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. Good evening, I'm Charles Gross, and it's time for Two on the Aisle.
Hey, Charlie, and I'm Dave Lefkowitz, and always good to be here, even though it's even better when Jeff is here. But he'll be with us in spirit, and also, I'm sure, on our Tony show that we always do every year in just a couple of weeks from now.
Yes.
So what are we talking about this week about the theater? What have we seen?
Well, we have seen West Side Story.
Okay.
Now, this is the first revival, I think, in about 20 years, and notably, it is obviously not directed by Jerome Robbins, but by Arthur Lawrence, who wrote the book for the show, and directed, for the upteenth time, Gypsy last season.
Right, well, yes.
Yes. And he has tried to make some updates with this show. Notably, the sharks, who are Puerto Rican, speak in Spanish.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yes, when they don't speak in English.
He goes for a certain level of authenticity there, which I don't mind. I mean, if we're going to get into little things about the show now, there were people who complained that two of the songs that we all know and love, because we all know this Leonard Bernstein score backwards and forwards, and to hear two full songs sung in Spanish is a little weird.
Yes.
It bothered me a little bit. I mean, what is authenticity in the theater anyway? You could do one or two verses.
So does this mean we're not going to, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, in other words, sure, you want a little bit of that, do one or two verses of I Feel Pretty in Spanish and the rest of it in English. Give us the flavor, fine, but you don't have to do the whole song that way. Or it doesn't bother me so much with I Feel Pretty because Sondheim never liked those lyrics anyway. He always felt they were wrong for Maria, for that character.
Which is probably why he agreed to let them be redone.
But A Boy Like That is a crucial number dramatically, and for what Anita is saying at that point
Now this
to
is a point
Maria.
where basically Maria, let's recap.
Sure, yeah.
This West Side Story is, of course, a musical and updated Romeo and Juliet. And basically, instead of Montagues and Capulets, you have two street gangs in the West Side in the late 50s who are basically fighting over turf, and one of the boys from the gang falls in love with the sister of the leader of the other gang. Right. That's Tony and Maria. And it's, this incredible Bernstein-Sondheim score, which has so many beloved numbers.
I can't believe I left out Sondheim. Yes,
and some of
he just wrote some of those words.
Some of Jerome Robbins' most incredible choreography, well recreated here.
Yeah.
And interestingly, in Jerome Robbins' Broadway, a few years ago, Robbins fashioned a ballet out of West Side, essentially a ballet out of West Side Story, which I think is now in the repertoire at
and I remember that very, very strongly from Jerome Robbins' Broadway. I remember that sequence just floored me in a way that this revival of West Side Story didn't quite. I almost wanted that magic that he condensed into 20 minutes during that show to be here, and parts of it definitely. And other parts I felt a little bit pale, a little bit on the lacking side.
Right. Well, what Arthur Lawrence has tried to do here is update it. And you have to understand, when this show was written, Sondheim, Bernstein were actually in that area. There was no Lincoln Center. There was this is how the West Side was, the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I'm sure there were plenty of affordable apartments back then, but not too many people wanted to live there. And in fact, the movie was shot in that area, and right after that, a lot of this turf that the Jets and the Sharks danced around was torn down to build Lincoln Center, and that kind of changed things. But there really were gangs, possibly even more, menacing than the Jets
were more menacing,
and the Sharks. And Lawrence what he's trying to do is recreate the feel that West Side Story had, or at least how he feels it had, when it came out. He's trying to make it relevant, but overlooking the fact that it doesn't matter if it's not relevant. You're talking about Sondheim's opinion. Sondheim came out and said, the show doesn't have to be relevant, it just has to be good.
Okay.
For example, is Romeo and Juliet relevant?
Yes, it's both good and relevant, and so is West Side Story. Yeah.
Right, but he wanted the up-to-the-minute feel, say like Hair had in the 60s.
Well, if he's going for that, he doesn't quite. I don't think he reaches that up to the minute feel, because there's for me again there's this push-pull, and some of it works. The love story works beautifully.
Yes.
It's the balcony scene is absolutely more moving than some of the later stuff that's supposed to be really touching and profound.
And they made the fire, and it takes place on a fire escape, but they actually made it look very much like a balcony.
Yeah. But at the same time, if he's going for realism and what it really felt like, why do so many of the sets look like cardboard? Everything, I looked at it, I was like, he's not doing a fairy tale New York or a fairy tale fire escape. Why does everything look like if you touched it or if you put your finger at it too hard, you'd poke right through it? I didn't get that. And it's got to be a Lawrence thing that he accepts, because he did the same in Gypsy. Gypsy was also hampered.
Again, you know, when these shows first came out, they didn't do the Les Mis or the Cats type of scenery. I mean, if you remember, you're going back to Jerome Robbins' Broadway, all the shows that you saw there had the original type of scenery, and it looks, by today's standards, very bare bones. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, you know.
I don't mind bare bones. What I mind is something that looks kind of cheap and fake. And I mean, it can't be that expensive to build like lots of ladders and fire escapes either. So it's not as if they're sparing expenses by using cardboard cutout-y looking buildings.
Now,
you know?
Again, getting back to the Spanish, my understanding was that his intention was so that the sharks would get more equal time, so that we'd understand more with. But here's the thing: is he took the wrong approach. You know, I don't care what Stephen Sondheim thinks of I Feel Pretty. I know the lyrics fairly well, and I still missed it.
Oh, okay.
I missed it. Having a lyric, musical theater is not opera. The lyrics matter. And if you don't speak Spanish, and I don't, then you lose something. Now, if he had wanted, now my feeling is, and looking at the play, is well, the reason that the Jets are more sympathetic, and we identify with them more, is A, they've got 3 solo numbers, and the Sharks have none. B, the Jets all have names. The Sharks, only 2 members have names: Bernardo, Maria's brother, and Chino, you know, Maria's supposed fiancé.
I didn't find the Jets more sympathetic at all. I thought they were hooligan Irish bastards. and
except for Tony, he's Polish.
Because also, don't forget, the Spanish kids take more crap, because the police are going to be on the white Irish side. And we see that very, very much from Krupke and the other officer. So, yeah, your heart tends to be actually more with the Spanish, whether they get fewer or more songs.
Right. But the thing is, if you wanted more, I didn't feel that way, but I felt that the Spanish did set the difference. I mean, you feel that they are different from different backgrounds more potently. I mean, Romeo and Juliet, you can't really show any differences between the Montagues and the Capulets. They're basically, you know, two peas in a pod. Here, it's more pronounced. Now, maybe that's what he was going for. But something more radical would have been A, to have given the Sharks names, B, to have taken, say, the number cool, you know, boy, and given that to the Sharks, which would have given them
well, yeah, but now you're
equal,
really talking about rejiggering and rewriting the
book.
Well, no,
but isn't that what he
have to do that? No,
I didn't say he had to, but I said if that was his intention, that's something that he should have considered.
Okay.
I mean, the Spanish, you know what? To me, it seems like a politically correct gimmick.
I'll go with you there. I don't think he meant it as a gimmick.
No.
I think he really felt it, and he wanted to do something nice there. To me, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another. If they're going to be Spanish, then let them speak Spanish the whole time and put super titles. If
they tried that, actually, out of town.
Okay, well, all right. So that would be
Spanish
more authentic. But it's theater. It's entertainment. It's not supposed to be authentic.
They don't do Fiddler on the Roof in Russian.
So do one verse of I Feel Pretty in English, and the rest can be in Spanish.
Also, G. Officer Krupke, one of my all-time favorite musical numbers. They tried to tone it down a bit.
Well, yeah, it's usually a funny number. Now it's kind of, but it's a pretty dark scene, so I didn't mind that. But
I kind of liked it better funny.
I missed some of the exuberance. I thought the dancing was fine, but not exciting. I thought some of the supporting actors, especially on the Jet side, or on the Irish white side, were kind of lacking. They opened their voices to sing, and I wouldn't hear a singing voice. And I'd be like, oh man, come on, you can find dancers who sing and act and can do all 3 now.
Right. All in all, though, I still think this is a very good production. We're nitpicking a little too much. It's still West Side Story. It's still an incredible musical, and this is still a very strong production. Maybe not the best it's ever been, but still a really excellent production.
Yeah, I mean, of course it's recommended. Of course you should go and see it and see for yourselves. And if we say certain things that we disagree with Lawrence or they should have done differently, he's still done a very fine job, and it's completely worth seeing. And he's the man to do it.
Yes.
Right?
And also, you know, they've got the principals are all very good. Matt Kavanaugh.
He's a very, I don't know why the critics didn't warm to him. I thought he was a fine Tony.
Yeah.
And Josefina Scaglione is a star. She's just right.
Right. And how about Karen Olivio as Anita?
Karen Olivo, I mean,
excuse me.
very good. I did have trouble in some of the Spanish numbers in English when they all sang together, hearing the words. I mean, I know the words to America, but if I didn't, I wouldn't have, it would have gone by in a blur what they were singing. I wouldn't have understood a word.
Right.
That is a problem.
Yes. Cody Green as Riff. Also very.
He was all right.
He was good. Tro Shaw as Anybody's.
Is that the girl?
That's the girl.
Boy-girl,
yeah,
girl,
the boy-girl. Yeah, I think she looks a little too much like a boy. I know Anybody's is a tomboy, but they went just a little too far with her haircut on that. And finally, let's see, Bro Bernardo, George Akram. Very good performance. Yeah. Again, this is a good production.
Yeah.
It is a very good
production.
And a very strong production.
Except for the Jerome Robbins Broadway, it's my first West Side Story. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, it's actually my second. I saw the version.
Debbie Allen?
Yes.
Was that better or worse? What?
You know, it's been 20 years. I would have to say I think the dancing in that one was better. And I think Debbie Allen was just so incredible as Anita. She danced up a storm. And again, this is a memory, but hard to compete with that.
Okay.
But all in all,
we both recommend the show.
So let's move on.
Yeah.